Hello and welcome to the Gooners Podcast, Season 6 debut. I can't believe it, Season 6. I thought we were going to get canceled after Season 5, but apparently not. Joining us today, the fantastic, fantabulous, well-coiffed, well-dressed, well-scaped Elliot. Elliot from Arsenal Vision Podcast, Yankee Gunner himself. Welcome back to the pod.
Yeah, it is an absolute no. You made me do it. I had no interest in being here.
I knew
it's an obligation.
I knew the amount of money that you asked for was like a piss take, and
I sent you the Manscaped image as a joke. You blackmailed me with it, and here I am on the show. Couldn't be happier.
Well, that's sometimes what we got to do. Got to do what you got to do. Owen's back in the house, not driving around in his car. Welcome.
Thank you. Back with a solid internet connection. And speaking of that there, Elliot, on behalf of all the boys here at the Gooners Pod, I'd like to congratulate because you were one of the nominees for Best Internet Connection of 2020-2021 last year. So congratulations on the nomination. I'm not sure that you made that you got the award in the end, but solid nomination, I think.
I'm now the comeback player of the year, though, because look at this shit. So, it's my second award running.
Mm-hmm. He's got more radiation going on around his house and Wi-Fi signal than most cities do now.
It's true. You know that Amazon sidewalk thing they're inventing?
It's right outside your house,
where they steal all y'all's internet. They actually launched that from my house, so I have all y'all's internet now.
Sweet. Well,
I'm your internet daddy.
Mine was never that good to begin with, but
fair enough.
Mikey, speaking of daddies, Mikey Hurst. Back for Season 6, man. Well, you've straddled 2 seasons. You've made it.
Yeah.
One thing that you didn't leave in Season 5 was the echo on your computer.
Again? Really?
Yeah, but that's okay because we love you so much. We'll take you even with echo. So welcome back. How's your summer going?
Absolutely fantastic, as per usual. Just trying to stay away from transfer rumors as much as I can. Just kind of look the other way. But it doesn't quite help that every single podcast I turned on was like, so let's talk about Ben White. I'm not sure if we've covered that lately, but we might
cover him because I'm not sure of Elliot's opinion on Ben White as it's evolving and moving. So we will probably talk about that. We might even start with that, but yeah.
I have definitely not listened to Elliot talk about Ben White and Saliba for an hour. Just today, actually. I definitely not.
I think you'll find that was 100 minutes.
Yeah, it was just 100 minutes.
Yeah.
You've got 40 left.
You ditched him in the middle of the podcast.
No, I finished it up. Good stuff.
I was going to listen to it, and then I saw something about a crab cake, and I got hungry, and I stopped listening to it. So I got to find out exactly how those are made. But in any case, we are back. Another thing that's continuing the trend of Season 5 is no Andy. He hasn't even been working on anything other than our new entrance video, and you will be seeing that soon. I know the one that I made is just Whiplash incorporated. So let's start with transfer rumors, and if we're going to talk about transfer rumors, we have to talk about ITKs. Mikey, you're trying to stay away from them, but here you are. Diagonal from probably the most disgusting, disreputable ITK of all time. How did you feel when you found out that we were not actually signing a unheralded? What was it that I said? It isn't what I actually. People misinterpreted the post that I put up. I believe it said Arsenal preparing a shock bid for a. People thought I was talking about a Premier League experienced midfielder, but I was just talking about a pretty lightly experienced mofo, which could be just about anybody. So I could not believe it took 8 hours for someone to actually read down the left side of that and see this.
It die nuts.
Yeah,
what's an it die not? I still don't get it, Mike.
You posted it. It kind of messed it up a little bit there.
And it Dynot is like the cousin of Dipping Dots, which I don't know if they have that over the pond.
There's only room for one dyslexic host on this podcast, Mike, and it's not for you. Okay.
Well, anyway, look, if you were offended by this, I'm sorry, but you dive into the pool of ITK rumors. You take a post that has absolutely no information in it, like the vast majority of ITK posts, and start tweeting out people. I mean, apparently we're now signing Renato Sanchez. We're signing Jack Grealish, who obviously is
okay. I'm in. You son of a bitch. I'm in.
When it happens, you're welcome. That's all I have to say. And
Elliot's over here stressing out over Ben White for no reason. It's like Grealish is on his way over here with Saka on the way back. You know, he's over here panicking over White. I mean, I just don't get it.
Yeah, well,
I should probably just be happy that we're not signing 35-year-old players. 25-year-old players like a massive improvement, no matter what we're paying or who they are. Yeah.
So let's get right into it. Ben White. I've seen an evolution. I know that I believe your first opinion on it was, what the hell are we doing? And now I see you easing your way gently into Ben White. Oh, hold on.
I didn't mean to send you that video.
Yeah, I actually saw you doing that.
Did you hack my iCloud? Does that make me a celebrity?
I was on the sidewalk outside of your Amazon. Yeah. But so, yeah, the Ben White situation, a bit weird, but in case for whatever reason you don't listen to the Arsenal Vision podcast and you do listen to the Gooners podcast, share with us your the evolution of Elliot on Ben White.
Love to see that Venn diagram of listeners. So
that crab cake. It would just be a clam cake.
A clam cake. Oh, okay. So the funny thing is, we literally did a scouting video today. So I just watched him, and obviously I've seen him play for Bournemouth. No, I haven't, because he never did. I've seen him play for Brighton, but so watching him on this scouting video, the thing that I think really struck me is, I know for Leeds it was different in the Championship, but in the Premier League, because we keep hearing it's smart to get him because he's got Premier League experience. All the footage, he's playing either DM or right side of a back three or right back. And you look at the positions he takes up, and he's way up the pitch or he's way out on the wing. And there's just not a lot of clips of him playing in a position that you'd associate with a traditional back four. Now, it is possible we're planning to switch back to a back three. That's another discussion we could get into. I think the thing that really was disturbing to me watching these clips is his passing's excellent. There's no question about that. He can fade one over the top. He can do the big switch. He likes to carry the ball. So he'll carry the ball into the first phase of attack so the midfielders don't have to drop back. I see the wisdom that side of it.
Isn't that going to get a pen? I mean, you can't carry the ball.
No, that's basketball. Yeah, that's basketball.
Right, so that would be
it's fine. He's carrying.
He would be ill-advised. I mean, Mustafi used to try to do that
with his foot. He's going to carry the ball, Mike. He's going to carry the ball with his foot. Okay, but the point is, what really disturbed me is, if you want a center back who loves to dive in, loves to go to ground early, really likes to try to jump, cut off the ball before it gets to the man, this is your guy. He is a very aggressive defender. He is going to stick a leg in, go in two-footed, go to ground to try to get it away. He's going to get turned at times. He's going to misjudge the tempo of the pass and try to get in front of it, and guys are going to get in behind. And at right center back or at DM, he didn't get punished a lot, and his pace is decent, not sensational, but decent. But I do worry if we're going to push the defenders up the pitch and play a little more high line, big clubs tend to do, and he wants to play that way and dive in. I'm not saying it's Mustafi level, but that's something that's going to have to come under control. And maybe Mikel feels like he can get the reins on that. I think the thing that I looked at in this video is, this is a guy that has a lot of good skills with the ball at his feet. As a defender, I don't see a 50 million pound nailed on star in your back line right now. If he came in tomorrow and we played in the back four, Gabriel would be the anchor, not Ben White. And so are we paying 50 million to get a future prospect? Because I feel like we have a future prospect. Or are we expecting to get the finished article? Because I don't see the finished article there. And as a last point on this, even if I really like Ben White, then there's the question of does 50 million pounds on a center back make us better enough to put the money there as opposed to where else it could go? And that's a different conversation. But after watching him right now, super impressed with what he does with the ball at his feet. as a defender, I don't see that sure thing 50 million pound anchor the back line. That's for sure.
Oh, and do you think that a 50 million pound center back is like Kroenke's basically saying we need to do something that's going to get the people excited, and in doing that, missing the mark yet again on who you want to be spending 50 million pounds on? And that's not a comment on whether Ben White isn't, might be, might not be worth that in the long run, but it's a really unusual. I mean, look, we did spend 35 million on a center back, and we all know how that went, but this is a bit kind of out of left field. We would have never seen this coming 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. So is this like, this is how we get the fans back on our side? We splash the cash on somebody that we might need?
I suppose you sort of have to contextualize everything, and this might be a bit of an uncharacteristic take from me, because I'm normally quite reactive and quite reactionary when it comes to stuff like this here. But what I will say is, I'm going to say you have to contextualize it, and we can't do that until the transfer window closes. Now, if it comes to the end of the transfer window and we have failed to get in targets for the likes of centre midfield, a right back, a backup left back, a second goalkeeper, if there's still things to be desired in terms of the business that we achieved to do throughout this transfer window, then you can look at Ben White as a 50 million pound target and say that that was an absolute waste of money, that it's shambolic business, and that this is what Arsenal have been failing to do for over a decade. But what I could say is, you could also reverse that and say that this is an absolute positive sign, to say that this is a position that isn't a massive priority, and blatantly isn't a massive priority, because Arsenal, I think, had I'm not sure whether we finished with the third best defence in the league last season, but we were there or thereabout. So this obviously isn't a position on the pitch that really needs major attention, but yet the club are still willing to go and put 50 million. Now, we've all seen these rumours of an apparent war chest or whatever up to how much Arsenal can spend, which I think is nonsense. Nobody can say that. But what it does say to me is that maybe this is the club starting to realise that their only way to reverse the decline that we've been seeing over this last number of years is to start spending their way out of it. See, I would sort of, in a way, respectfully disagree with Elliot, in the sense that I think that Ben White is actually a very, very competent defender. I think the defensive side of his game is actually very, very good, and it's the fact that he's playing at a side like Brighton, and to me, it's the players around him as well. When you take a step up in class of the players around you, he's only going to get better too. And it's something that I've always said as well, is that within the Premier League, and I know this might sound like a stupid sort of little statement to say, because there's been obviously defensive partnerships that haven't had an English player, but when I look back to all very good, successful Premier League teams, they've always had an English defender. And I'm not comparing Ben White to any of these, but you look at some of them.
That's because you're looking at teams of the 60s and 70s.
But like Tony Adams at Arsenal, John Terry with Chelsea, Jamie Carragher with Liverpool, Rio Ferdinand with Man United. I really think just for a sense of culture of the way that football should be played, and I think there's often a leadership that comes with those sort of hard-nosed English types of defenders, and that's something that we lacked. And for me, that this is a good bit of business as long as all the rest of the positions that we need to be filled are done. I do think it's an upgrade. I think that what you're seeing here is David Luiz has made way. Obviously leaving at the end of his contract, and I think what this is Mikel Arteta saying that Rob Holding, while he's a competent defender, is not good enough to single-handedly lead that back line. He doesn't have the capabilities or maybe the qualities to do so. So they're better.
And we would all complain if he did come to that conclusion. So you're picking up on the point, which is without David Luiz and without a Ben White or somebody else, all of a sudden our back twos are going to be Gabriel and Mari, Gabriel and Holding. I mean, the issue is,
well, there's the Saliba guy that we would have to talk about then.
Yeah, that's the biggest.
But even with Saliba though, like second game of the season against Chelsea, we will be watching that in Vegas. Second game of the season in Chelsea against Chelsea, Saliba and Gabriel, who we've all seen. Gabriel is hit or miss sometimes. I mean, I think he'll be incredible with more experience and next to the right person. That's just an inexperienced, young, hit or miss type of center back combination. And I think most fans would want, and I think Arteta certainly wants, which was the reason behind David Luiz coming in, some sort of anchor in the twosome. Even if both aren't established and Premier League experienced and all of that, then at least one needs to be. And I think he's basically saying it's not going to be Rob Holding, it's going to be Ben White, and that will make the partnership better, because Premier League experience matters, whether you're English or not. I think in that position, especially, being experienced in the Premier League matters. So,
let's be clear. Like, Joe Willock has more Premier League experience than Ben White. Okay,
yeah.
I mean, he's played 36 games in the Premier League. Before that, he was in the Championship, and 2 seasons ago, he was playing for Peterborough. He spent his entire Premier League experience bouncing between right center back, right back, and defensive midfielder. So you're getting a guy with a season of Premier League experience who at no point during that Premier League experience played in a back four, who's going to come in and stand next to a guy in Gabriel who we all think is good and also kind of learning. I just don't think the narrative that he is the experienced anchor coming in to be the rock is going to fit who he actually is, which is a young, developing player just reaching Premier League level who has played in a 3 for a season. So, and again, this isn't to say he's bad. I want to be clear. Ben White looks good to me. He looks like a guy who's got to get some of the instinct out of his game to always be up the pitch, to always dive in. And some of that's positional to where he was playing for Brighton. But it's not that I don't think he's good. It's that I think the idea that we're spending $50 million to get a guy who will be very good is just a little weird to me, especially in light of the fact that I think we have a guy who also will be very good, who we already own, who looks like he's on a rail out of town.
Yeah, Mikey, is this the £50 million? Now, this was a question of yours, and I'm going to turn it right back on you and make you answer it. £50 million on Ben White. Signing an English experienced Premier League, even if it's just a year or a year and a half or Championship and then Premier League, signing that type of a player for $50 million compared to the Martinelli type signings, the Lakanga, is that his name? Lakanga?
Yeah.
Those types of signings where we're kind of hoping to hit it big, as opposed to one with Ben White, where you're really just putting all your chips in the middle of the table and saying, this guy better be good because we're spending a ton of money on him. Which one should we be focused more on? Or do you think this is a good combination of both? Which was I love the turning your own question on you, but where are you on that? I mean,
yeah, no, I just wrote the questions. I wasn't planning on answering these things at all. So great job. No, the answer is, I guess, is both, right? Because I believe that this transfer season, this summer so far, with the players that we've been linked, with the players that we're close to signing, is indicating everything that the club is actually acting for the first time in a very long time like a self-sustaining model. Like this is what you need. Lakanga is future. Who knows if he's going to stay with us? But most likely, he comes to us. He plays for 3, 4, 5 years. We're able to flip him, right? That we haven't been able to sell a player for profit for a really long time. Even the current ones that we have a lot of sellable assets right now, but they're all in kind of really weird. Like Nelson kind of devalued himself. Guendo, he has his situation. Mavropanos has his situation. Torreira with his comments about Boca after his mother passed. We've been operating in a really filthy way for a really long time, just completely wasteful. So here's my biggest take home out of Ben White and Lukonga. One thing that they have in common in everybody else that we've been linked with is the age profile. And this has been a really long time since we've looked at every single target that we've been after. If we're believing, the Gerbil and Chris Wheatley and Charles Watts and all, and Eddie Lundberg, of course, that's in the house, dropping his own tweets as well.
You call him Eddie Lundberg?
Yeah, is it? Oh,
is it Freddie's brother?
Longbridge. There you go. Messed up his last name. So
he's going to need you to come in on the weekend.
Yes,
that's Lundberg.
No, so I'm happy on both fronts. I feel like the club, in my opinion, is finally learning. I think with the addition with Richard Garlick, I believe, is going to help get the contracts running, right? Edu, Arteta, I believe they're identifying the right players. Now, I know there's a lot being said about Ben White. I take a little bit of what Elliot said and a little bit of what Owen said, in the sense that, first and foremost, the transfer season, it's just opened up. So we have no idea how much money the club is going to spend. We have no idea. We've been linked with all types of midfielders. In the 10 spot, we've been linked with Odegaard, Buendia, now Madison, right? In the midfield, Locatelli, we were linked with. Apparently, some Italian journalists said that we actually made an inquiry about that. Who knows, right? That's very.
Does that Italian journalist charge £200?
It's not Fabrizio Romano, if that's what you're asking me. And no, I didn't try to bribe him or pay him to be on the podcast. Is what I can confirm.
You can pay him to come on your podcast?
Apparently,
Mike, can you confirm that?
You could pay the gerbil to come on your podcast, but you guys get it for free.
So,
actually,
look,
I paid you.
It's the best of both worlds. I believe. I always kind of said that Stan Kroenke, if he was going to ever spend, even if it's per some type of loan against the club, if he was going to ever make that financial commitment or put the club in a financial situation where there's funds available, it was going to be when we got knocked out of the Champions League. For an American sport fans, I've always kind of compared Champions League with playoffs. As long as you're in playoffs, you're a name, you have some financial, upswing about that. And I've always kind of looked at it like that. So I kind of looked at it like Stan Kroenke or / Josh Kroenke, of course. If there's going to be a summer where they're like, okay, we let this go for too long, we got to invest, lack of better words, invest. Strictly, put in a really good shift in the transfer season to get us back in Europe. It's got to be this time, and it's maybe not football reasons, but it's financial reasons. He wants Arsenal in Europa, preferably the Champions League. So I'm looking at these as all positives. One thing, Elliot, I was gonna throw back at you.
Yeah, please.
The conversation that you brought up just earlier, where you were doing the scouting video with Ben White. Am I completely insane? Because the few videos that I've seen, I've also seen him way up front. Is there any way this is the midfield partner for Partey that nobody knows he's top of the list, but is there? Because as you mentioned, his position on the field is always really further up.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing, right? If you told me he was coming to play right back, I've seen enough things from him in that position that it'd be interesting. If you told me he was coming in to play as a more of a defensive midfielder and free Partey to move further up the pitch, again, seen enough to say that he could do that. I think, like, for me, not to make everything about the price, but if you're spending £50 million on a player, I'd like to think you believe they are one of the best at their position and you're buying them to be excellent at that. Once you get into the realm of, I'm paying $50 million and I think I can convert him to this, or I think he could kind of be that, that to me feels like there are better ways you could spend the money on someone who actually is that, right? Like if you want a right back who's freaking awesome, you can spend $50 million and get one. If you want to get a central midfielder to partner with Partey at $50 million, if you want to party with me for $50 million, you could email me, text me, call me, come to my house.
Isn't that what Vegas is all about, basically?
Yeah, except there's no $50 million. Unfortunately, it's totally free. But like, you see what I'm saying, right? I mean, my feeling is if you're buying a center back for $50 million, what you're saying to me is this is a star center back right now today, and he will be for many years, and that's why we're paying this fee. It doesn't say to me, we think we've got a diamond in the rough at central midfield or a right back we can convert him to, because you could spend $50 million on a right back or on a central midfielder to partner with Partey, put the Ben White money into Camavinga. I'm not saying you can get Camavinga, but you know what I mean? Like put it into someone who plays that position and you have more reliability on that for. So Ben White is interesting because he's very talented. That much is clear. And on the ball, I mean, the way he carries it, the way he can go past a man, the way he can fade it over the top and big switch, that's going to help our attack in the way David Luiz did. But he's younger, he's more mobile. But I don't think positionally he's as clever. I don't think his stand-up tackling is good. I think he can get rolled. I think he likes to dive in. And again, if he was $20 million and we were like, we're going to go with this guy instead of Saliba, I'd say I can see it. He's more ready than Saliba right now. Having watched, we did a scouting video Saliba today. We did both of them in the same video. Saliba doesn't look ready to me. I was shocked. I was expecting to see this star boy ready to come in and be amazing. you see the raw skills in Saliba to be a star boy for sure, and the physique is there. He's not ready. I saw him and I went, wow, this is the guy that I've been raving about. He's still rough around the edges, but Ben White isn't not rough around the edges, if that makes sense.
Are there videos of Saliba that don't have a person masturbating next to them?
I'm going to move past that, Elliot,
those
real
were the
quick.
only ones we watched. Yeah, sorry.
Those were the only ones. And he didn't look ready to you, huh? Okay.
The person sitting next to him looked ready. He did not.
Is there any, again, I'm just playing devil advocate here. Is there any like worry at all that the form that Saliba had in France doesn't convert immediately to the English league? Because he's not ready.
We're
all here, like, for example, and I don't like price tag, so I'm going to ignore the price tag apart, but Pepe, he was tearing it up in the French league. It took him the better part of 2 seasons to fully get into form and figure out what the hell he was doing. So that's kind of something that, if I'm the manager right now, I understand all of Elliot's points taken into consideration that he doesn't seem to have played in the back four very much. He's, mobile. People get past him. I understand all of that, but I look at that like, I still look at it like it's still English experience. So be it, maybe just 1 year, versus Saliba, who has performed well, like other French players. Potentially my thing where I'm like, if I'm the manager and I'm the one, my job is on the line. Do I say, hey, guy, you're going to be my starter, the leader of the anchor of my team? So I'm always worried about how that talent translates from one league to another.
See, just on the Saliba thing, because I actually originally, when I seen this leak, I was actually quite upset at the fact that it's sort of, we don't know what the case is, but from the outside looking in, I mean, it looks like it could spell the end for William Saliba and sort of give him very limited chances this season. And I think a lot of us were maybe looking forward to seeing him get chances. But obviously, since the beginning, he's always looked relatively out of favour with Mikel Arteta. And I always thought that was quite unfair. We were talking about people were saying he's the next Varane, he's the next big star centre back to come out of France.
I hate when people do that.
Yeah, he's the next this, he's the next that. But anyway, I was on that, and now this is obviously just speculation and rumours. But there's been rumours surfacing that William Saliba is assessing his options, and that he may potentially look to leave the club. Now, to me, that is just bad character. If at the first sign of competition that his ass is fluttering and he's looking for the exit door immediately instead of relishing the competition, So in regards to the William Saliba thing, the way I always put it is my loyalties lie to Arsenal, not to a single player. Now, is it bad business? Yes, and I would be absolutely fuming if he was never given a single chance and he was sent out the exit door. He got a transfer to somewhere else and he turned into the next big thing, and he was absolutely fantastic. But for me, Mikel Arteta's job is hanging in the balance. Let's not forget that the manner in which he finished last season and that sort of the thin line that he was walking. So for him to go and splash 50 million on a centre back must mean that he has confidence in that player, because at the end of the day, it's going to fall back on his head. And I would agree with Elliot completely. This is a centre back we're getting. We're not getting a right back. If you wanted a right back with 50 million, you go and you get Max Aarons, or if you wanted a centre mid, you go and you get Basuma. That, if you're spending 50 million on someone that amount, you're going to play them in the position that they have been playing. And I know people say about defence and midfield and stuff like that there, but people were saying that with Callum Chambers as well, man.
But what about Thierry Henry though? He was we bought him and moved him. Now I agree with all you lot about spending the money and putting him in the right position. But the Saliba thing, the Olympics. Now, you would never tell a young footballer to not play in the Olympics, but just when you would think that like the best thing for Saliba would be to get into camp on July 8th, to start training with the first team, to get to, maybe undo some of whatever damage has been done, mutually speaking, between the club, Arteta, and himself. And now, he's not going to get in until late October, early September with the Olympics, and it just seems destined not
Those
to
are
work.
Different times. Late October and early September are that's a very big range of times.
I go in reverse as well. Our next podcast is going to be in late April of this year, not next year. So
can I borrow your time machine? I have a wager I want to place, or a few.
I'm not giving that time machine up. I need it more than anybody.
Fair enough.
But I mean, it's not going to work out. And the sunk cost fallacy of saying, we spent this much money on him. He looked pretty good when he played for Nice in France and for Saint Etienne before he came here. I mean, all those things are important, but we have not seen him play in the Premier League. We probably won't. And why is this? I mean, why does this have to be the hill that Arteta dies on? What I mean, it just, or is it just Arsenal supporters wanting the thing that they don't have to be proven wrong on to be the stick that they keep beating Arteta over the head with?
No, look, I mean, the thing to bear in mind here, right, is like this. I think there's a bad use of sunk cost fallacy, because sunk cost fallacy is feeling like you have to make it work with something that hasn't, right? This hasn't even been tried. Like, the thing that's frustrating to me is everywhere Saliba has gone, he's been extremely highly rated. We paid a lot to get him because we thought we were getting young talent before he blew up and became the next big thing. Since we got him, we've pretty much blocked every opportunity for him to play for us, but everywhere he's gone other than us, he's gotten rave reviews, and people have said, he's kind of met the bar of what he needed to do. I don't think anybody's saying, that Saliba can step in and be amazing day one. I think my frustration is you go and you find a bright young talent that's highly rated and you pay a lot for him, and you should have some plan and say, here's our plan for moving this player through. He gets a loan year back. He comes in and starts to be integrated. Maybe he plays in the Europa League. We see what we have. We find Premier League minutes for him. Then the next season, he's fighting to be a starter, and then we see where we're at with him. Our plan has been buy him, loan him back, bring him back, decide really quickly we don't want him anymore, screw up an effort to loan him, don't give him a single minute and don't register for the Europa League, loan him back again, and now probably just shit can him entirely. And so it's not so much that I know for sure Saliba would work. It's more that everywhere he's been, he's done what he needed to suggest he should come in and have a chance. And that chance hasn't been provided. And I don't think it's pure talent. You watch Saliba, the one thing you come away with is the kid's raw, and I don't think he's ready to step in and be our regular starter right away. I mean, probably not. But the talent is, like, it jumps off the screen as you watch him in certain moments. The way he can cover ground, the way he uses his physique.
It's like Martinelli. I mean, you could say the exact same thing about Martinelli. You want to see what he's capable of.
At this point, round table for whoever wants to answer this. At this point, it is the Ben White signing, if it goes through, is it the transfer fee or is it Saliba?
That would make you upset about it, you mean?
Yeah, that would make you like, is it the 50 that you can't get over? Or, everybody, right? Everybody feels a little bit differently about this. Is the 50 or the fact that we invested 30 and we have not yet, that $30 million investment has not even given a chance to develop in the squad. So, like, is that the most disappointing part? Just seeing a young talent not get its chance versus the panicking of, holy crap, we spent $50 million on a center back. We have a center back. What about our midfield? What about the right back?
It's just the psychology of it all, I think. It's like say, for example, you went on to Amazon and you ordered a sandbox, all right, and the sand turned up before the box did. Well, just because you've got the sand there doesn't mean that it's completely fucking useless. You're going to get the box eventually. And what I'm trying to put across there is that just because it's coming in this order doesn't mean that that's the priority. And maybe I'm being positive here, and that's not normally a position that I take. Normally I'm fucking an absolute miserable bastard. But
normally you bash me for that.
Yeah. Just because you're a cunt. But what was I gonna? No, but maybe it's just the time that we need to sit back, wait and see, because we could all end up with mud on our faces if we're saying that this is a stupid bit of business, and then Arsenal go and uncharacteristically pull it out of their fucking ass this transfer window and go and get your Basuma, get your Madison. Imagine, not that it's very likely to happen. I'm being over positive, I think.
Are there any other curse words that you want to add to that comment? Or
I want to say something because I think Ian hit on something important, and this is something we should all agree. Like, I can use curse words if it'll help.
And please continue to call him Ian because the rest of us will.
Well, sorry.
Someone
literally typed Ian into the chat, so
they always do it. It's fine. It's like just yeah.
How do I say
it? Owen.
Owen. All right, that's better. All right. So what Ian said made a lot of sense to me. Look, Owen, I think here's the one thing we can agree on. If we're spending £250 million this summer, buy Ben White for $50 million. He looks really good. He's going to be good eventually. And like, why not? Everybody's feeling about whether that move makes sense is going to some extent depend on what else we do. So like, let's say we buy Ben White for $50 million.
And that's all we do. That's what you
do. And let's say we get like, Lukonga for 20 and that's it. And we find out that like, well, they couldn't really make the money work for Basuma, or we were looking at Madison, but another issue, we were looking at Camavinga, but they wanted too much money. And we're like, well, would the 50 we spent on Ben White have helped? Then this is going to feel really stupid. Like, Ben White is a great player to sign right now if you have plenty of resources and can do all your other business. Like, I guess what I would say
nobody said anything when Nathan Ake was signed for $40 million by Man City, who didn't need
Man City.
Right.
I mean, people said it was a dumb fee, but it doesn't matter. Like, they can have Leroy Sané totally frozen out of the team and it doesn't hurt them, right? Like,
right.
But that is really the thing for us, which is if you said to me, who's a player we can get in all of world football that will really move the needle for us, center back would be like 100th on my list. So it's not that he's not a good player and is worth having. It's that if I said to you, right, like for example, if I said to you we could buy one thing this summer, just one, an attacking mid, a center mid, or a central defender, and you have to pick the one that would give us the best potential to move up the table, defender would be the last of the three.
Yeah, would you rather have Locatelli or Ben White for similar money?
It's an easy one, and that's not because Ben White isn't good. It's because of what our squad. Like for example, let's say we were linked with an awesome, expensive right wide forward. We don't need it. I mean, it'd be fun, but we don't need it.
I think a good example is that when you're talking about to put the fee into perspective, is that some people are fine with the fee for Ben White, but yet when we hear the fee touted as 60 or 70 million for James Maddison, people are saying it's a lot of money to be laying out, but that's a priority position with a proven player that fits the exact type of profile that Arsenal need, and yet people think that fee is too big. That's where I sort of struggle to make sense of it all.
You know what? By the way, Elliot, this is for you. We're going to take a brief interlude.
We are looking at how to pronounce this traditional Irish name. How do you go about pronouncing it? Not like it's spelled, but simply Owen.
Ian.
Owen.
Ian.
Owen.
Ian.
Owen. Here are many more videos on how.
So you're not the first. You won't be the last.
That helps.
When we run out of things to talk about on the podcast, which is frequently, we just make fun of Ian's name. Caught me in the middle of having a piece of cookie as well. So who would shot. Your it's not a normal cookie.
Oh, even better.
Who would your center mid, because you're talking about the needs for center mid, center back. Who would your party be? Since we're partying with Partey at this point.
I'd rather hear what the other guys think, because so this is where if you tell me to here's a player we're linked with and I can go scout him and go look at his data and get a feel for him, I think I'm pretty decent at that. But I'm candidly not someone who knows the world of international football and knows the players.
But that's why I want to hear your answer. This isn't the podcast where this isn't. There's a reason to have Arsenal Vision and there's a reason to have Tom Canton's podcast, and then there's this one. Where we're make a
fair point there.
Yeah, saw a video of some guy in a YouTube video, and I want him, and I want to pay him £75 million. But so just in a you don't have to be a tactically and scouting person. That's who do you actually see? The problem is
all the guys that I'd say, people are going to say, oh well, we can't get him. We can't get Locatelli, we can't get Camavinga, we can't we can't get him. I mean, I didn't want Neves. Like Bissouma's interesting to me, but Bissouma is a defensive midfielder. Like he is a destroyer who can carry the ball a bit, but as of right now anyway, passing is not, you're not getting him to move the ball up the pitch with vertical passing. So if it's Bissouma, then it's clear to me that the plan is to let Thomas Partey play further up the pitch, which I actually like as a strategy. The Partey partner to me can go one of two ways, right? It can be someone who sits deeper, can control that area and free Thomas Partey a little bit, or it can be someone who shares the load with Partey a little more, who's athletic and can move around a little bit and do some of the things Partey does. I mean, a lot of people see Lakanga as an heir to the Partey role, like a guy who is similar enough to Partey that he will eventually become what Partey is. Maybe we want two very similar guys on the pitch so one can go and one can stay, and there's that athleticism that everybody's been craving. I'm not a huge Ruben Neves guy, so it probably wouldn't be that.
Mikey, how about you? Who's the guy you want to see taking the place of Sir Granit Xhaka?
I don't know how this might go on the achievable radar, right? But Frank Kessie from Milan, him along actually Locatelli, who also played in Milan. I've been singing Locatelli's praise since 2017. I was absolutely in love with this player when he first broke up into Milan, and then he was sold pretty early on for Frank Kessie, ironically. So Frank Kessie for me is just a workhorse, box to box, could do a little bit of everything. Could if he wants to sit back right in front of the back four, he could do it. If you need him to go forward and play, and he has a wicked long shot. The man has scored a lot of goals. If you need a penalty taker, he is your man. The man has buried like 90+% of his penalties in that sense. So dream, like this, talk about dream midfielder, I'm going to say a little bit more achievable than Locatelli, because I really do see him going to just Juve.
There doesn't seem to be any other destination for him, unless it's this one, Mike. Message from Danny.
No, don't start with, dude. You guys are broke. Get out of here, Danny. You guys are selling players right now.
You guys.
So he says throwing stones from his glass house.
Yes, Danny hugely into Inter Milan. I've seen him constantly, bathing and wearing Inter Milan gear.
And fun fact, huge fan of the Timbers, Portland Timbers.
Yeah, that is a weird thing. And the Miami Dolphins.
So that would be like a dream midfield signing for me.
Ian?
Oh, fuck you.
You've had 15 minutes to think about this.
No, I'm going to go for the basic one that everybody sings about, and I think there's good reason for it. I'm a Bissouma dick rider. I'm on that train all day, man.
We didn't ask what you would do to him. We asked you who you wanted.
It's an expression. I'm a big fan of the guy. Okay, he's very good football. No, I think that in today's game that the days are starting to fade out of those sort of controlled, more methodical type midfielders like you mentioned, Elliot, like Ruben Neves. Even though I am a fan of him, I do think he's a very good player. But I think that the successful teams now have just complete athleticism and dynamism in the midfield. You look at Liverpool, there was no massive creative outlet from Liverpool's midfield when they were going through that such a successful spell. And for me, releasing Partey and maybe even bringing some of that a more expressive side to Bissouma's game as well at Arsenal could be something. And as well, somebody mentioned in the chat earlier on as well there, we talk about blocking the path of Saliba, but we're prioritising a number 10. Would that potentially not block the path of Emile Smith-Rowe? I would maybe like to see what Emile Smith-Rowe could do there after having such a, gaining the experience of last season. I would like to see what he could potentially do in there, because for me, long term, I don't think the wing is a very viable option for Emile Smith-Rowe there. I think that he flourished in those wide areas simply because he had that creative outlet of Martin Odegaard to combine with. So for me, look, this is the one thing I will say that really frustrates me. You have a player like Yves Bissouma sitting there wearing Arsenal kits, putting stuff out. He's basically crying for the club. That game at the end of the season. He's
trying to outdo Wilfried Zaha in this situation.
It's wild, man. It was like an addition.
Spurs.
The fee was touted between 35 to 40 million. Go and slap down the money, because that guy is worth every single penny of it. He's an absolute destroyer
Well, we don't do the things that people think that we should do. We do the things that people think we shouldn't do. We like spend.
But
50
could
million
you
on
imagine being? Could you imagine being Basuma in the Brighton camp, and it's like, I can't wait to go to Arsenal, and then fucking Ben White's got 50 million slapped down for that kid.
No, he's probably, his agent's probably telling him, well, that means you're going to go for 60. This is going to be great.
The funny thing, you said something funny, right? We tend to do the thing people don't want us to do. Like, I think one of the things that people have to admit, and there's just no way around this, right? Like, clubs that are smart and do good things and win lots of stuff and stay at the top of the table get the benefit of the doubt, and clubs that don't, right? So, like, I can't help the fact that I look at Arsenal finishing 8th in consecutive seasons on a top 4 or 5 wage bill and some of the really silly stuff we've done. I don't need to mention them all again, but we all know the crazy moves we've made. Like, it is hard to think Arsenal know what they're doing. And I get it. You can say, well, this is a new crew. It's not Raul and it's not Ivan Gazidis. It's the next group. There is a little bit of a prove it mentality that I have with Arsenal right now, right? Like, oh, I'm supposed to believe that you're smart now and that you're doing the smart stuff, even though it still looks a little weird to me. Well, prove it. Because you don't get to, like, we aren't 8th by accident. We aren't 8th by bad luck. Like, we're 8th consecutive seasons because we've made a lot of errors in squad building, but especially selling, but also in recruitment. So a lot of this is just we've been burned, and now they don't really get the benefit of the doubt anymore. And I don't think that's a weird phenomenon, you know?
No, they absolutely shouldn't get the benefit of the doubt. And I mean, and that's why it seems that everything they're doing is wrong. I mean, you can make mistakes when those mistakes are inconsequential, but when those mistakes are as consequential as they possibly could be, then that, you know, it leads to getting the douchebag fan base that we have that's constantly looking for every possible way to undermine or to take the and it is an unfortunate thing, but it's an earned unfortunate thing by this point.
See, speaking of making mistakes, all right, and just even this can go the whole way around the table as well. Is it a potential mistake that we're overlooking the fact that a striker could be a key priority? Because if Aubameyang doesn't hit form and Lacazette's patchy form continues as well, I think that whilst we had a lack of creativity last season, I do think that we wasted a lot of the chances that were provided as well. And is that something that we are overlooking as a priority position?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, the funny thing though, Owen, like Ian, the issue is, like, for me, this is what happens when you build a really weird squad. Trying to get out of it is really hard, right? Like, we have 2 strikers in late prime or past prime, one of which we think will move on and one we've signed to a long-term deal. All right. We have another guy in Balogun we've just given a contract to that we have absolutely no idea what he is, whether he'll be loaned, whether he can play at all. We don't have European football to be like, well, we could get an extra guy in and give him the Europa League games. And then we've got this guy in Martinelli, whose data is like as elite as any young player we have ever had in the history of the squad, like club period. And there's some thought that he could be a center forward, but it's notional. It's not proven. And so we're in this weird liminal space of, like, bringing in an elite striker right now would be a very weird fit with Balogun and Martinelli waiting in the wings and Lacazette and Aubameyang under contract. But pretty soon that position could become like, hey, we're just going to try to get by with converted winger Martinelli at striker because we didn't plan for the... So, like, Owen, I got to tell you, I think this is the tax you pay when your squad building's been bad, is your problems are very hard to fix, right? It's not like, oh, this guy's getting into late prime, we're going to sell him, we've got another guy coming up behind him. No, we've got 2 late prime strikers and 2 really young ones and no one in between. And, like, you look at Leicester, who have Vardy aging out and Iheanacho moving in, and they went and get Daka, right, or whatever his name is.
I thought they were Pats and Daka. I thought they were getting Edouard as well.
I don't think that deal came out. I think they went Daka instead. But the point is, like, and that's because they didn't have a problem. They had a very easy succession plan. We are going to find a lot of these uncomfortable decisions we have to make as a byproduct of really uncomfortable squad building errors along the way. You know, it's how you wind up with Saka looks really good at right wing, and Pepe is very expensive, talented player at right wing, and Willian is an old, very expensive player under contract at right wing. And you go, well, what do I do with this? So yeah, I gotta tell you, on, like, I think striker's a fascinating one because the most important position on the pitch, it could become an issue really, really quickly. We have 2 players who are too young to just hand them the role, and 2 players who are aging out of usefulness. It's really tricky. I would go for one.
As a man whose actual career involves specializing in succession planning for organizations, Arsenal is not a client of mine. I just want to make that clear because I could probably go down the tubes professionally for that. I want to talk about something. We're going to talk about. I need to get something off my chest, but before we do that, I want to talk about something even more fun than Kieran Tierney, and that is something that I've talked about a million times on this podcast, which are, look, Arsenal sometimes suck. Sometimes it's frustrating. We love them, but we don't always like them. But the one thing that you do that is not unique to Arsenal, but is really special about Arsenal is you get together with your mates and you have a good time and you watch Arsenal or you talk about Arsenal or you try not to talk about Arsenal. But and I've talked about Gooner on this podcast. I've talked about trips over to London. We've had tours in the summertime, but there's an event coming up in less than 2 months now that's going to be fun AF, which is what I think it should have been called. It should have been called, we talked about what it should have been called, and I told you it should have been fun AF, but some of us are heading to Vegas in a couple months at the nicest part of the year weather-wise. But Elliot, this is your brainchild. This is something that's going to be a lot of fun. So let's talk about it.
Big heaping spoonful of help from the Win and Blue Wire, and I'm really excited about this. So it's called Football Fest, FUTBOL Fest, and two things. I know it didn't have to be spelled that way, but the Win made the good point that if you have a football fest in late August in the Win in America, you're going to get a bunch
Las
of
Vegas
NFL
where they now
losers.
have a football team.
Yeah, you're going to get a bunch of NFL losers crashing your party. So we just made it something to tell them, go away, we don't need you. And if you love the NFL, that's fine. You can be there too. Yeah. It is going to be watch parties. It is going to be cocktail parties. It's going to be live Q&As and podcasts. And Mike, you're going to be there with your show, and Highbury Squad's going to be there. Sophie's going to be there. Our group will be there. Clive, Paul, Scott, myself. Tim can't make it over, but
so Clive is actually coming.
Yeah,
over.
I mean, assuming the regulatory side of traveling from there to here works out. Right now, it's
he can get here. I just don't know if he can go back.
Well, that's fine. Then we'll
the
United States have made a £50 million bid to keep Clive Palmer. Warren Barton from Fox is going to be there. There's going to be some ex-players that we're looking at possibly being there and stuff. And it's going to be a really good time to just hang out after a year being apart, and not we had a London event around a big game canceled that we were going to do with the Arscast, and that got canceled because of COVID. So yeah, I'm disappointed that we can't be at the Emirates, but for right now, a chance for us who are able to get there to be together, to all party in one of the really nice places in Las Vegas, and someplace that's easy to get to, logistically simple for most people. You get there, you're in a cab 5 minutes, you're in a hotel, you're done. You can
Air conditioning will be plentiful. Pools will be plentiful.
You can go to footballfest2021.com right now, and there's a registration there. Registration right now is totally free. There's even a booking site that will get you a discount on the Win. Now, the Win's not a cheap place, so if you want to stay somewhere else, totally fine. But yeah, it's footballfest2021.com. You can go, you can register, and we're gonna the official announcement is rolling out in stages because there's a lot of sponsors and stuff involved who have to sign off on stuff. But right now I'm just out here telling them to go F off and saying it out loud because I want people to come, and I don't want to wait any longer. So there it is. You can get in there, and I know we already have a couple hundred people that have registered, so I'm pretty excited to see the turnout. What I can tell you is that if you haven't been to the Win, it's an awesome place, and there's going to be some pretty cool events, both just socializing events, but also podcast events and watching Arsenal events. I'm really pretty pumped about it.
And having attended many gatherings, whether it's about a live football match like the tours to California, to New York,
that was a blast too.
Yeah. Really, really fun times. Having attended things like Gooner, where the football team is 4,000 miles away. They may not even have a game that weekend, depending on their progress in the FA Cup. But it's just 200 friends and another 100 people who are entering into the situation, just getting together and sharing their love of football and the love of Arsenal, especially together. There's just nothing more fun because there are no strangers in that situation.
And I'm going to be. I doubt I'll be sober at any point during it. So if you want to get videos of me humiliating myself to have as blackmail to get me to recant positions about like Olivier Giroud on social media or something, like this is your chance, because I don't anticipate being sober really at any point during the event.
Yeah, I mean it's 3 days long. I can normally string together 2, not always 3, but yeah, I'll.
That's why God invented Adderall, my friend. It's fine. You'll be fine.
I will be your I'll be your wingman when it comes to whatever.
Please
that
do.
you don't want to be.
We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into stuff.
Yeah, we are. So it's footballfest2021.com.
Yeah, there it is.
If you're a member of Arsenal America, or if you live in America and you're familiar with Arsenal America, there will be an Arsenal America presence there as well.
Yep.
And I'm trying to figure out.
Reminds me, I need to talk to Lori about that immediately. So
yes, thank you to Tiff and Laurie and David and Jeff and the whole crew for their involvement in it. Anything that Arsenal America gets involved in, you can guarantee it will be fun. And did we give out the dates? I don't remember.
August 20 to 22. August 20 to 22. Yeah, and we play Chelsea Sunday morning, but it's not like insane early. It's like 8:30 a.m., which by Pacific time standards is tolerable. So
that's lunchtime. That's lunchtime or dinner time, depending on.
We're just walking out of the club time. Straight walk out of the club, straight to the watch party. It'd be beautiful.
Exactly, and yeah, that's the second week of the season against Chelsea. Oh, and you coming over for it?
No.
But not because it doesn't sound like a good time. It's because
it sounds brilliant. I'm jealous.
I can only pay for half of your plane ticket. So
we'll get you halfway here. Swim the rest.
No, I'm going to hold out. Danny has just informed me that he's going to organise something for the two of us in Cambridge with just us two and Jack Wilshere.
In Manchester.
He's not doing anything.
No, I would love to go, and I'll make a point of doing it. I'm sure you do that Gooner gra as well a lot of the time as well. So it's definitely on the list of things to be done.
We will get you over for one of those things once your kid isn't so needy.
Fuck the kid. I don't care about the kid.
Wow.
I'll go.
It went to a dark place.
All right. So speaking of people from Arsenal Vision that will be at that podcast, I really am serious. I've seen a lot of things. Are they, am I getting it correct? Is it called a crab cake? It's a visual statistical thing from Scott.
Yeah, it's a radar. You know what a radar is? Have you seen the radars? Like StatsBomb does them. By the way, Ted from StatsBomb.
I don't even know what XG means.
It's a round thing. It's like a spider chart, and it's a spider chart, and it shows you what their qualities are. And Scott's handle is that crab, and they're kind of round. And so someone said you should call it a crab cake, and so he. How
does one read it? I mean, we certainly will hope to have Scott on with us someday if you lie to him about what the experience is like.
Yeah, I will. Absolutely, I love lying to Scott. It's one of my favorite things.
What is it meant to like? How do you read it? What is it meant to portray? I should have gotten one. I'll see if I can do that.
Yeah, like they're his Twitter Avi is a crab cake, if that helps. But like basically what they do. The more of the surface area of the circle that's filled up, the better the player is. So essentially the way it works is if the line goes all the way to the end, that means you're in like the 99th percentile for that stat. If the line is in the like very much in the middle, it means like you're one of the worst at that stat. Okay? So you basically take a cluster of skills, and you usually try to put them in a region. So kind of like defending type skills and attacking type skills and passing type skills and ball carrying type skills. So yeah, so there, okay. So what you see is the ones that are all the way out towards the end mean that player is really, really good at that skill. And that is, this is against all the top 5 major European leagues. So like if it's more towards the middle, that means you're not good at that skill. And so you get the sense that like an amazing player would just fill up the whole circle, right? Now nobody does because like Lionel Messi can't fill up the whole circle because like he doesn't tackle at all or anything. But they're based on position. They're compared to other people that play the same position. And what they do is they give you a really nice sort of visual ability to say, oh, he's a tackler who's good at long passing, or, oh, he's a creative player who can dribble but isn't very defensively active. And it's a great way to kind of just get a snapshot to help you understand where the strengths and weaknesses of the player. If it's not meant to be comprehensive, it's meant to be a visual aid that gives you a sense of what on the ball, off the ball type skills really make the player effective. Oh, shoot. Hey, Mike, guess what? This is going to be fun. I have to go get my kids, like right now.
Okay.
So, the fuck the kids thing, if you hadn't said it, wouldn't remind me. But like, I literally just realized that if I don't go, like, they're going to be sitting at daycare alone. So
Yeah, we don't want that. I
No.
would normally say ignore your kid, but as long as there's like another person there to take care of
Well, I
them.
kind of had just sent my wife a text during the day being like, hey, I got a thing, so you pick up the kids. And I just got a text being like, can't pick up the kids, sorry. And I'm like, now you tell me they're
Is
closing
there-
in like 15 minutes?
I don't want to give your location. So is there anywhere in the northern central part of the United States that can pick up a couple of kids? And
Yeah,
drop
anyone who
them
lives
off?
in Minnesota who wants to pick up kids, I'll get the Amber Alert in my phone, and that'll let me know that you got them. So that'll
Okay, cool.
that'll be
Well,
great.
My
Elliot-
good friend Kelly, he's on it right now. Let me
Yeah,
just-
that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kelly could do it.
Kelly can do it.
Elliot, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Glad that we got the
Anytime,
Vegas
seriously.
part out, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to
And
to
there'll be a big
doing this
Gooners
in
versus
person.
Cancer drive at the event too, so that'll be a big part of it. We're working on what the details for that'll be.
and the support that you have given us and the people that you've driven us to Gooners versus Cancer has been amazing. So thanks again,
Thanks,
Elliot.
guys.
Take
Cheers.
care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Check them out at
Bye,
Yankee
everyone.
Gunner.
See ya, mate.
All right, so the crab cake thing is a pretty good.
It's
segue.
very like so somebody actually pointed it out there. Stefan Selby in the chat pointed out, and that was my first thing. It's just exactly like Pro Evolution Soccer used to do the statistical comparisons between players as well. It's very, very similar.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I know it doesn't show on a regular basis, but I love numbers and statistics. I just don't like analytics when it comes to football because I'd rather just watch it than try to figure out who's better by looking at charts. But I do love charts, and this is a really, really sharp one because it doesn't just measure things that can't be compared to people like, oh, he has 10 dribbles where the other person has 3. It measures them amongst their peers. And it's pretty cool. And this one happens to be for Kieran Tierney, which I think we can now talk about the fact that our man has signed a new contract. Is this the first? Well, I was about to say, is this the first Arsenal captain to sign a new contract while captain? And then I realized he's not our captain. I just think of him that way. So, Ellen, how big is this for Mikel Arteta?
Look, I think there was rumours put about as well that there was contract negotiations going on with a certain number of players, and certain players wanted reassurances over the security of Mikel Arteta's job. And I think that Kieran Tierney is one of those people, because for me, people, when this decline started and stuff like that, a lot of people were saying about the fact that when a team's going down, a lot of their valuable assets and their good assets often look to leave, and maybe Kieran Tierney would be one of those players who would maybe look to move to somebody like a Man City or something like that there. But for me, I always was almost slightly insulted because, as you know, a lot of Irish people follow Celtic as well. So I was very, very aware of Kieran Tierney, and this is so in character of him to commit his future in the most dire time of the club's recent history, and stand by the club, and not only the club but stand by the manager as well, is just so in character of the guy. I don't see Kieran Tierney as somebody who's going to be a player with multiple clubs. I see Kieran Tierney as somebody who will be here throughout the best years of his career, and then maybe opt to move back to Celtic when he hits maybe towards that 30 or just over the 30 mark. So it's absolutely huge to have someone like Kieran Tierney saying the only thing is now, the only bump in the road is everybody. It seems like every fan, every pundit, and even the manager himself want to make Kieran Tierney the captain of Arsenal Football Club. The only hiccup is that the devastation that it could cause within inside the dressing room, the division it could cause. And I think I was listening to Canton's pod earlier, and it was mentioned in the chat for me.
Of course you were.
I'm off Twitter. It's the only way I get my fucking transfer news. But for me, the only way that you can appoint Kieran Tierney captain of Arsenal this season is if there's a lengthy absence from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I don't think he can just pull the armband off somebody like Aubameyang, because the division that would cause within the dressing room, we know how highly thought of Aubameyang is, and I'm not sure whether even Kieran Tierney would be comfortable in that situation himself. So for me, things have to fall in place to get the armband handed over. But that's
why I said, what would be perfect, and this would require him to be okay with it, is for Aubameyang to surrender the armband to the younger, recently recommitted, long-term captain for Arsenal, to have it be a gesture. Aubameyang, I can't be here forever, and Obama, and say Tierney's the future of this club. That way, it's not being ripped off his arm and handed to the young guy who I think Tierney probably has the respect of the dressing room, but Aubameyang isn't an outcast by any means. So
No.
So yeah, I mean, I would love to see that, but if Aubameyang isn't that type of person, if he's not, if that wouldn't really be possible without Aubameyang going into a season-long funk again, then I would agree with you that you can't do that. So Mike, you have to come up with the answer. Owen doesn't want to take the armband off him. I want him to surrender the armband. So what is actually going to happen?
Given the German bastard treatment and just pay him to leave, right? This would be an easy contract to pay off.
Why would you do that to Tierney?
Captaincy free, yeah.
No,
something I really
next week we start freezing him out after re-signing him to a new contract.
Something I really wonder about Aubameyang is, I don't know, he just kind of seems like the guy that rather not have the pressure, that is incredibly talented, and like we've seen in the past when things go wrong, like he's the last one to want to speak up, stuff like that. He's not very vocal. He's just a really bright personality to have in the locker room, and everybody just absolutely loves him. So to an extent, I wonder how much the captaincy means to him. Like, I don't think it goes over his head that Arsenal's an historically great club and it's an honor to be club captain. But I wonder if the question was presented to him, or I don't know, how you would go upon that. I don't see Alba personality saying, no, I'm captain of the Arsenal. I could almost see him being okay with the move. On it, obviously, the conversation would have to take place in between Arteta and him, right? But
it would be unprecedented. But like, wouldn't that just be like honestly, that would be my favorite thing that would happen this summer. Would be because it would show like the passing of the torch before it's too late from senior leadership to the clear future. The future. It would be like this may end up pissing people off. I don't know what the protocol is, but it would be like Queen Elizabeth sadly passing away, and then Prince Charles basically saying, I abdicate the throne because I want England to be in the hands of Prince William for the next 60 years, not me for 10 years, and then him after that. Like, that could be the worst analogy that anyone's ever made. It was pretty especially bad. An American.
But isn't there commercial advantages to holding the armband of your club, sponsorship deals and stuff like that? There, so maybe that's we can't look past it.
Does he sponsor anything? I mean, is he in any kind of print or visual media ad? I mean, I wouldn't. Maybe in Africa, maybe in Europe. I mean, certainly not in any way that I've seen. So
one thing about footballers, especially strikers and people of the profile of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, whilst he may not be what you would call like an extrovert or something, that he's not overly vocal, you can guarantee he's egotistical. You have to be egotistical to be so successful in this field and for the sustained period of time that Aubameyang has been. And for me, the more likely thought process that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang will be going through at the minute is not that I need to hand over the baton. Is that my reputation has been tarnished by one bad season, and now I have to go back and prove those people wrong and sort of make up for the failures of the season past. So I don't know. It's another tricky one, and I said not long into last season that maybe the Aubameyang contract was a mistake, which it is no big thing to say now in hindsight, but the comparison I was making is that, are we looking at the potential start of another Mesut Ozil situation where we have a player on massive wages that is going to prove to be a bit of a nonsense to overcome that? And that's not the player's fault. I want to state that it isn't the same thing. I really like him. He's been absolutely fantastic for the club, and in many ways I think that what you said, Mike, if there's ever a way to say sorry for a bad season for whatever the reasons, it would be a gesture like that, like handing over the armband, you know. But I don't see it.
Then the pressure's off. Then he doesn't have to answer questions as to why he's not talking to the press after a loss and why he is after a win. I mean, it just he could go back to being someone who hopefully can excel without having the microscope, on him so often and the spotlight on him so often. I would love to see that. Mikey.
So I don't personally think he's past it, so to say. I think physically it looks completely there. I think everything that happened last year was more on emotional and psychological level that he went to. So when like Owen asked the question about the striker in the transfer market, look, we've been rumored with a striker whom I really like, which is Andre Silva that plays in Germany right now. But ignoring those links, right? Assuming striker is not a position we're actually looking to move forward with in this transfer window. My main gripe was, personally, I didn't necessarily feel like the team was actually creating a ton of chances. So Aubameyang, we kind of know his thing. He could score a worldie every once in a while, but he needs 2-3 chances. He wasn't getting 2-3 clear chances a lot of the games. I mean, some games
he wasn't putting himself in the position for him either.
But here we go, right? That's the whole thing, because you look at it like he's not putting himself in the position. I look at it like Partey's playing essentially as a one-man midfielder next to a Tierney who refuses to pass forward, Sabaya who refuses to pass forward. We didn't have Tierney on the left. So most of the creations that came was like magic little dribbles from Saka or Pepe from the flanks who get in. And, one of the reasons they were banging in the goals most of the times, because it was them creating their own opportunities. So I don't know. I think Aubameyang, I think we still got another good season out of Aubameyang if we get the whole midfielder situation sorted out, because I do believe, I understand we had the Ben White conversation. I am a crazy enough believer to say, if we spent 50 mil on a center back, I could at least expect a 40 plus mil midfielder to come in along with Lokonga. I really do believe that's going to happen.
Mikey, that's why we're the mics of this podcast, because we're on the one side, whereas Owen and Andy are often on the other side of things. So it's a fair and balanced situation. We want to ask the chat, and I'm gonna roll call through the chat in a second, because you guys have been fantastic tonight. Sorry we haven't gotten to as many of your comments as we could, but any user questions, anything off base, silly, sensible, transfer related, Euro related, which we're also about to talk about, get your questions in now. Thank you to the 40 to 60 of you that have been in here for most of the show. Stefan Selby always has very nice things to say about me, and he's the nicest thing I could say about him is that he is tall, he is blonde, and he's handsome. Daniel Roberts in the chat trying to get me to post pictures of Bird Leno. Good old John, who lives very, very close to me, but loves to live in your head, Mikey. But we've got Mikey B in here. We've got Aston Mack has been fantastic today. Aston just today bought a house near where we met you last time. So I will be down in your neck of the woods much more than just this July for the game. So we've got Tigrish Kumar. Gary's in here. Gary just won and just received the team signed jersey for Gooners versus Cancer that we gave away a couple weeks ago. So can't wait to get a picture out of him with that kit. Don Juan, Poppy, who else we got? Don Giovanni, Razor 57, and many, many more. Oh, this guy Danny, the gift. I don't really know what that means, but Danny the gift is in here.
Be right back.
Yes, man, and Scunny, who asked me to see my Lee Judge's hat, so I had to put that on for a second. But yeah, get users' questions in now. Owen, who have you got in the Euros? What are we? Who are you rooting for? Who are you liking so far in the Euros?
Ireland. Oh no, wait. Oh, Jesus Christ, here we fucking go. I can tell you who I'm not rooting for very quickly. It's not fucking coming home. It's not coming home. They're shit.
When I mean, why is this like so important to England? Like, what is like? No one does that here, and I'm trying to start it
because they're all wankers. That's why.
Is that what it is? It's just
that's
double-fisted wanker situation.
Yeah. No, on a serious note, do you want to know what? Everybody's had their blips. I thought that going into the tournament that Portugal were going to be quite far and away the favourites for it, to be honest with you. Belgium as well, probably potentially in line with Portugal. France, but everybody has looked suspect. Look, I'll be honest, Spain is the international team, obviously apart from Ireland, but Spain is the team that I grew up absolutely loving, and I always like to see them do well, but they're way off the races. And to be honest with you, when England fans were coming out and saying it's coming home, it's in the chat already and people are saying it and everything like that, I was saying to myself, nonsense. Every game I've watched for them, they've been absolutely terrible. They haven't been very good whatsoever. I think that Gareth Southgate is a horrible manager, absolutely horrible. And for me as well, and take this as an unbiased view, someone who has watched England for a long, long time and watches them on a regular basis, I often think that England's biggest problem is that their players walk out onto the pitch automatically thinking that they have the game won before a ball's even kicked. I think that they have a mentality issue. And for me, to overcome that is very difficult when you've got a bunch of prima donnas who think that they're the best players in the world. But look,
I agree with what you're saying, but it is coming home. Wembley, and then a game against Sweden or Ukraine, and then 2 more games at Wembley. I don't care.
Yes, England is going to get hammered by Germany. Yeah. Hammered.
If there was ever a time, and look, I've been traumatized by England, Germany. That my favorite World Cup was 1990, and that one ended with us losing. With us, do you hear that? That one ended with a loss to West Germany that broke my heart. But so yeah, we don't have a good record against Germany, but it is the time, it is the place, Wembley, 60,000 people going like this all at the same time.
Oh, well, yeah.
You know, how could I mean? And it'll send that ball sniffing, anus sniffing Joachim Low into retirement. I mean, what better of a storyline do we have?
I'm telling you, and I'll make this bet with you right now, here and now, with Hertz as our witness. All right. If England win the Euros, I will get "It's Coming Home" tattooed on me. All right, that is it. And I'm not. I don't throw things out lightly. All right, I will. Okay,
clip this.
Here's my plot twist. The upset for the tournament for me. I don't know. I'm banking on Germany beating England first and foremost. Okay, but I think Sweden might be knocking out whoever comes out from England, Germany.
Game? Well, oh man, I'm still stuck on the fact that I'm going to have to tweet out that clip of you saying that you're getting a tattoo if anyone wins. I thought you were going to say if they beat Germany, you were going to do something.
And and here's part of the reason why, and maybe we'll get back to something slightly Arsenal related whilst talking about Euros. Were any of the rest of you slightly blown away at the fact that not Arsenal fans, but other football fans, England fans in particular, morons, were surprised at how good Bukayo Saka was?
Yeah, it's like I mean, I know Arsenal's been shit, but like it's not, his play hasn't been that secretive, has it? I mean, it isn't surprising to us. I mean, that's your exact comment. And I like it that way. I mean, because now he's going to start to be linked with various people and stuff, and he probably won't even play on Tuesday because Foden will obviously be in that spot. But he is good. Just because he plays for Arsenal doesn't mean he's not good.
I think that's something that surprised me as well, is when you look at players like Phil Foden, for example. A lot was being said about him before this tournament, but something that has been overlooked as well, and even I overlooked it to a certain extent, was the fact that Phil Foden goes out and he plays with Bernardo Silva, he played with David Silva, he's playing with Fernandinho, whoever, name the countless superstars, Kevin De Bruyne, that Man City have. Whereas Bukayo Saka at times, for sustained periods of times, had to single-handedly drag Arsenal through that season.
Jocko, Willian.
His emotional maturity, the weight that has been, and nobody thrusted it onto him. He took that weight himself. And for me, that is something that even Arsenal fans, I think, potentially overlook with this kid, is the emotional maturity and his willingness to accept responsibility and drive his team to win. And for me, without Bukayo Saka, even over Jack Grealish the other night, that they never would have got that win.
See, Saka and Tierney seem like they would stay after to help clean up the dressing room.
Mm-hmm.
So that the custodial staff doesn't have to do as much. Like they're just like respectful and wise beyond their years. Now, Mikey, I you've already revealed who your team is, and we could have known that, but I'm just surprised because I thought that you're so into the Copa, I would have assumed that I didn't know if you knew that the Euros were going on. How is Guatemala doing in the Copa?
Guatemala is doing horrible, dude. Like they can't even make it to the final phase to try to.
I think Owen's on fire. Shit, Owen, put the fire.
Owen's on fire. The
Owen's
tattoo. It's a tattoo. That's just a skin burner.
Owen's
right
like that Will Griggs guy.
Okay, so Copa America. I'm rooting for Uruguay because, quite frankly, I don't want Argentina or Brazil to win it. And then Euros, yeah, Italy, man. I've always kind of liked Italy from the late 90s just because I used to watch Serie A a lot. So I kind of always liked all the Italian players that I saw coming up between Milan's and obviously the rival teams. They all had Serie A in the 90s was just absolutely popping with talent.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was the English Premier League essentially.
Late 80s to the late 90s, really.
To the late 90s, early 2000s, the Milan team that won like 2-3 Champions League titles all in a span of like 6-7 years. So so because of that, I kind of always watched Italy a lot when like World Cups were popping up because they had some of my favorite players. So
they're always feast or famine in these major competitions too, and it looks like they're getting ready to feast in this one. Although they've been a bit screwed by the bracketing, and that side of the bracket is so much heavier than the other one, but they've looked. They've been untouchable, really, in this tournament so far.
They've been the standout team by a mile, I think, in terms of quality of football.
Not only quality of football, and then there was some crazy stat that they haven't received they haven't received a goal, and I don't know how long, but more than 2 goals in one game, and like 2. I think it was something
they
like
haven't conceded a goal in 10 or 11 games.
Yeah, so Gianluigi Donnarumma, he debuted with the team 17, 18 years old. With the national team, he has yet to receive 2 goals, and he's now 22. So it's been years. The Italians, if they know something, it's about defending. So again, traditionally, they've had some excellent defenders, and Owen did a pod on his old podcast, the Gooner Crack, where we kind of mentioned Maldini as one of the best. I don't remember if we fit him in as left back or center back, but Maldini, Italians kind of have the reputation of knowing how to defend. And sure enough, as of lately, it's been like 4 or 5 years where it doesn't seem like anybody could get past them. And they have a lot of quality in the midfield, a lot of quality up front with Immobile and Belotti. So, yeah, man, I'd be surprised. For me, going into the tournament, they were heavy favorites. I think the most popular one was France, but for me, I don't. I always keep an eye on Italy. I never. That's always a sleeper team for me.
Can I push forward a potential dark horse that I think, but not in terms of winning the competition, but in terms of definitely progressing further than people think? Wales.
It's got to be darker. Oh, I was going to say it's got to be a darker horse than Netherlands, but Wales is going to have their hands full.
See, mine is Sweden. I think Sweden makes it to the semifinal or the final. So for me,
Denmark is rolling right now with the energy and and they've got Wales in the next round. Then they got to go to, I think, who was it? Belgium. But like Denmark, I want them to win that game against Wales, and I normally like to root for Wales. But sorry, Jason.
Like the big mammal in the sea, or...
Yeah, no, I don't like to root for Wales. I like to do other things to them. But yeah, the Denmark thing I think has just been. I already like Denmark. I've always said that, like, when the U.S. is falling apart, like it seems to be lately, and the U.K. can't get their act together either, that like Denmark would just seem like a really, really cool, fun, chill place to live.
That's the story of the year, regardless of what happens from here on out. Denmark are the standout team of this competition.
They picked themselves up off the mat in what was an awful situation, and that game against Russia, like I was as hungover, I think, as I've ever been watching that game. I was in an awful mood, and when they scored the third goal and then the fourth goal again, I mean, I was jumping out of my chair like Arsenal had just won the FA Cup, which is the only example I can give because we don't win anything else. So I do want to get to some of these questions.
Before we go into the user, just a random question for you guys. I know that they scrapped the away goals.
7.5 inches.
That's impressive.
That's Andy's joke.
I mean,
I love it.
Wow, that's impressive. They scrapped away the away goals. Somebody, I saw some random tweet that I thought I personally liked it. How about the golden goal? Where you guys fit on that one? Because we all remember that. I think it was a final or semifinal Italy.
People rebelled against that.
Point in time.
People rebelled against that because I think it was too American, and I think they still would. I love
shit.
Sudden death endings are just not something you see a ton of. I don't think outside of American sports. Am I wrong about that?
It's I don't know, man. It just encourages negative football in a sense, I think, as well, because you would think it would encourage the opposite, but I think it makes people be a bit too cautious. But the only time I ever see it is 5-a-side when you're a kid and fucking the moron who's 5-0 down shouts next goal wins. It's just it's so juvenile and stupid. No more changes.
So here we're gonna do, Mike. We're gonna go hockey style, and we're just gonna play with the less players, like they do the overtime now. It'll be eight outfield players. We'll go from there.
And then after 20 minutes, you switch to playing lengthwise on one half of the pitch, like in youth football. All right, starting question. Flattery will get you everywhere, and I was actually wondering when someone was going to notice. Don Juan, question: how much weight have you lost? The answer is 33 pounds, which is what, 2.25 stone, and I have 400 more to go. But thank you, and I am absolutely starving. I hate my sandwich that I made before I started this diet has grown COVID. So anyway,
hey, shout out to Saber. I don't know what I said, but hey, talking trash is what I do best, my friend.
Yeah, I would have expected that from John Mornan, but not from him. Poppy has asked a few times for me to reveal the midfielder I'm referring to in the tweet, that the last details are being sorted and they're from the Prem. Poppy, the answer is that it's going to be, I'm going to say this right now on the podcast. Arsenal are about to make a shock bid. All right. So you heard it here first. Next question we got is from Don Giovanni. We're going with Don's first. If we don't buy a running back, if we don't buy a right back, would you rather keep Bellerin or start Chambers or Cedric? Owen, we'll start with you on this one. I would just cry if those are our three options at right back. But assuming they are, would you rather keep Bellerin or start Chambers or Cedric?
It's a funny one because in terms of his attributes, I wouldn't mind keeping Hector Bellerin. But to be honest with you, I think now is the time for both parties just to move on. I think that he's, ever since his injury, whatever you want to attribute his decline down to, he is on a decline. I think he's lost that yard of pace, and I think that now is probably not the peak. The peak to sell him would have been about 3 or 4 years ago. But I think his price tag's only going to dip. And for me as well, at a time when we need to be bringing in a lot of players, he's one of the players that can generate arguably the most funds. So for me, it's time to move him on. I wouldn't be convinced that Chambers or Cedric is adequate cover for that position, but in the long term, definitely not. But in the short term, just to get that money in for Hector Bellerin and get that issue resolved. I think it would probably be best just to see him move on.
Mikey, how you feeling about Hector?
It's similar to Owen. I kind of look at like Hector Bellerin, Joe Willock. Their price is probably never going to get higher than what it is right now. Willock he's riding a real high with what he did in Newcastle. Bellerin, his contract's going to only run down. I don't see him extending. He's young, and it's just like he said, like Owen said, his story with the club is coming to an end at this point. I think he's wanted by multiple clubs in Spain. So
why are we not hearing anything about that? It's not like he's playing in the Euros or anything. Like why is all the trail gone cold on Bellerin at this point? I don't understand it, but
I think the trail kind of seems to have gone cold for everything. I mean, it's kind of a slow, very, very slow evolving market. I know a lot of people are like, fuck's sake, Arsenal, do something. But if you look around us, I mean, what, like in England, Norwich bought a player to replace Buendia. Aston Villa got Buendia. I'm struggling to.
Yeah, I looked the other day, and there's been about 3 or 4, but I mean, it's pretty typical of the beginning of a transfer season before a summer tournament or 2. So yeah, Bellerin needs to go. If we don't bring her right back in, I would be perfectly comfortable starting Chambers there. I wouldn't feel great about it, but I would feel comfortable with it. So, Dublin Gooner, aka John, a very loyal helper with Gooners versus Cancer. Thanks for your donation. It is coming home. It's just that it is the team bus after the second round.
Good man, John.
I have to say that's probably what's going to happen.
Shout out to Daniel Robert with this brilliant comment as well. Liverpool are trash because Salah and Mane aren't in the Euros.
Yeah, I saw that going around Twitter a lot. Let's see. We have a couple more questions. Where is it? Oh, where is the tattoo going, Owen?
Somebody said neck, but I don't beat my wife, so got to refrain from that. I don't know, man.
Do you have a tramp stamp already, or
a tramp stamp could be good. I don't know. Yeah,
it's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming home right over your ass. I did not even think about that location. That would be perfect. It's coming home with you get that. Clips. You get that, and then if Arsenal don't win the Premier League next season, I will pay for you to get the arrow down from its coming home.
How does that benefit me in any way whatsoever? Well, there's my fun started for it anyway.
Who said there had to be, a positive and a negative to everything? All right, what else we have here? Sorry. Oh, from Alexander. Thank you for the super chat, Alexander. It's never necessary. We put the proceeds to Gooners versus Cancer. So Alex is saying, are you guys going to Florida Cup games? Sorry, I just joined. Don't know if you talked about it. He just joined the podcast, but he thinks it's a great podcast. Hopefully he's talking about all of our other ones. But this was a great podcast. If you missed it, Elliot from Arsenal Vision was on with us earlier, so you can go back and watch the replay. But Alex, Owen's not going to be there because he's lazy and he's stuck on an island with no way off. Mikey, are you coming to Florida?
Negative, dude. That's it would be a 20-hour flight round trip for a day and a half. I don't got it in me, dude. I can't.
Oh, I was like 20 hours. I was like, are you going the opposite way around? Like, are you going to California over Japan?
I legit. I wanted to go and I checked, but once I saw the flight was 10 hours. I'm like, I'm out. And
10 hours? Wait, where?
Well, he's not flying direct, I suppose. So
no, yeah.
There's no San direct. Francisco to Orlando. Come on.
No, it'd be San Francisco to Texas to Orlando, but most of it involves about 9 to 10 hours worth of planning and overlapping between planes. So I'm out for that. And then when it comes to
I could get there faster than you could.
You probably
apparently so. If you walked.
And then and then Vegas, I'm having my 49th child. I lost count.
See, I never know where you're always talking about how you're having a kid. So like literally, I never know whether it's actually true or not.
Yeah.
You're actually having another one?
I don't know. Maybe.
But Alexander, yeah. I am going to Florida Cup
not
game.
Me, my wife. She's doing most of the work, but yes.
That's true. I am going to the Florida Cup games. We are going to be hanging out at the plans are already in motion. There's going to be a couple of kind of night before parties and day of parties, and I'll be there repping Gooners versus Cancer that day. So looking forward to seeing you. Make sure to say hello, and thanks for the nice comments. Mark says, why haven't we made a bid for Basuma yet? Making an offer for Ben White's like going into Tesco for half a loaf of bread and coming out with a tin of beans. Very English of you. In fact, I'm just going to give you multiple bells for that. But I don't know. I mean, we wanted Thomas Partey supposedly in June last year, even before the previous season was over, and we waited till October to trigger his release clause. So why don't we just make these obvious moves earlier? Maybe it's not the obvious move that everybody thinks so. And I know there have been some journalists that said Basuma's not our number one target. And I hope that they didn't mean that Ben White was. I hope they meant at midfielder.
I'm thinking he's going to be our midfield. Watch.
My God. I really don't want that to be the case. And let's see. We had another question from this. I can't tell. I'm so used to taking the piss out of people that I can't tell whether Poppy is or not. It says, I've waited all this podcast and you muted your words. No way is that fair. If you can't reveal the name, can you confirm the club? Yes. Okay, I'm going to confirm the club.
Oh, shit. Here it comes.
The club is... Sorry. You're going to have to ask the bell if you want to know that information. Jerby doesn't give it out on the first date, okay?
This is the first and the last time we see Poppy in the live chat. Nice knowing you, bud.
Well, if you only came here to see the gerbil, you would have been out of here within 5 minutes. So smash those likes up, says Taib. Thank you very much. Mike, do you go to Vegas every time you have another child? You are kind of gambling more than I am, and I'm going to be in Vegas. But that's.
I like the Stefan the Saliba guy in the chat. He's got my sort of energy.
Yeah, Stefan is Stefan's quality. I was giving him the ump before, but no, Stefan is a sharp man. Somewhat loosely associated with the Bergkamp Wonderland, though. I don't know. I think he did their fantasy football league, which drives me absolutely crazy because I hate fantasy Premier League. But he did make a very good point here, which is that Elliot should be a stockbroker because he bought low and sold high, got out just in time, right before the market crashed. So yeah, if you missed it, Elliot from Yankee Gunner from the Arsenal Vision podcast was with us earlier. So I think we're gonna end it there. We've been about an hour, 40 minutes, and I'm starting to lose my mind, if you know what I mean. So. Mikey, what's your word of wisdom, your nugget, your personal approach to life at this moment that you can share with everybody?
Be excited.
Oh, fuck off.
Words of wisdom, gentlemen. Chill the heck out, man. The transfer window is very long. It's a waste of time and energy to get so caught up with one. Like, even if we sign somebody, it doesn't directly correlate with what the transfer season is going to play out. We don't know who's coming. We don't know who's going. The fact of the matter is things evolve. Players become available, and players get tied down. So, I kind of was thinking about like some of the last minute, like looking back at like Ozil, right? That deal happened because Bale moved to Madrid and then he became available and then we got him. So the transfer market is just going to continue to move around. We don't know how everything is going to play out. So
to chill out, have a kid
or two,
kid or two. Yeah.
Keep it cash, yeah.
Owen, you are amongst others up for the Bergkamp Wonderland Best Guest Award of the year, which is an award that I think I finished second or third in for the last 5 years in a row. I could never get my call center to get enough people dialing in on the computer. But yeah, vote for all the ABW awards. I think it's bergkampwonderland.com/awards. Danny,
Well, that's good. I can vote for myself because I don't have Twitter anymore.
Yeah,
So
you can vote for
Smart,
yourself.
man.
You can do it. They use the old interwebs. I did not rig it. If I had rigged it, I would have won.
No, I think
but-
you rigged it because somehow, Mike, you won the best Guatemalan on the podcast award, and I could have
did.
thought, I was a shoo-in for that one.
Most identical twin of Danny. I think I won. Oh, and any words of wisdom? Any final sign off?
always wipe front to back.
Especially if you have a "It's Coming Home" tattoo, right above. Which I cannot wait for. Oh, God damn! I hope it comes off now.
Owen, you're actually making me root for England at this point because I want to see the tattoo.
Man, it's such a sure thing. Like, I'm not getting that tattoo done. Well, I will if they win a man of award. I'll get it done, but there's no chance. Is there?
Yeah,
Is
and
there?
Danny said if you get your kids to vote, you're going to win. I mean, I think that you are certainly within 49 votes, so I think that would be the case. My last piece of wisdom is the Serenity Prayer. Have you guys heard of the Serenity Prayer?
Fuck's sake!
You know what? Actually, that's too serious for this shit. I can't go that serious anymore.
Be kind, rewind.
Yeah, if you want to hear the Serenity Prayer, go to the end of the Highbury Squad podcast the other day when I was on, and I actually said it. So looking forward to Orlando, looking forward to Vegas. We'll certainly be on before then though, and talk about the latest, greatest big Arsenal transfer. And we'll talk about crab cakes and all of that good stuff. But thank you to the chat. It's been fun. Thank you to the 2,400 people that stupidly followed the gerbil within about 4 hours of the acrostic. It's always fun to see how people react. And man, I miss podcasting. So thanks for coming up with the idea, Mike. Mike's like, we should do a podcast. And I was like, okay, sure.
I got an alarm set on my phone where I'm just gonna annoy the shit out of the group until they agree to podcast with me because I get bored during transfer season. So we gotta chit chat, just BS about something, dude. I mean, geez.
Well,
Keep
we will do that. Coming. All right, keep the faith. Come on, you Gooners.